Hey everybody, it's Alex from Motoroso.com, but this video is the official sPOD installation guide video for the 3rd generation Raptor and F150 application-specific sPOD kits. Now we made a separate product spotlight video where we go into deep detail about all the features, functionality, and variations of those application-specific kits. Check that video out right here. Now, as you can see, we just finished installing the fog pocket kit, the behind the grill kit, and the A-pillar lights from Baja Designs, and we wired all of those into our sPOD, and the install is super clean. Now, just a couple of notes about the installation here. We made some slight changes from how things are written out in the instructions. For example, the way that the wire goes into the control module and the dash. The other thing I want to make a note of is because the fit and finish is so clean and crisp and everything had to be very precise, some of the threads and the bolt holes don't line up perfectly. Make sure you take your time when you're threading these things in and you don't get your bolts cross-threaded. If you really take your time and be careful with everything there, you're going to end up with a super clean install, and we're going to show you how to do it every step of the way right here. Let's dig in.
As usual, before doing any sort of electrical, it's advised to disconnect the negative battery terminal. Now we're going to begin by releasing the upper console panel by opening the sunglass holder and pulling firmly down. There are hooks at the front of this, so only pull down on the back side and then slide it backwards to pull it out. And you're going to have to release the 4 wiring harnesses from back to front to fully drop the console out. Now remove the 6 T20 Torx bolts from the back of the panel and open like a clamshell. Then pull out these rubber plugs in the panel. We'll be mounting the sPOD switch panel to these holes. Remove the small silver T40 Torx bolts on the side of the sunglass holder, then use a flathead screwdriver to gently pull it apart, then fully remove the sunglass holder. Close the back panel and replace the 6 T20 Torx bolts. Also ensure the OEM switch wires are tucked back into their clips. Now we'll line up the 3 triangular bolt holes on the application-specific mount with the support bracket from the sPOD kit and use the supplied bolts to secure. Now we'll mount the sPOD switch panel to the console mount using the supplied nuts on the back posts, making sure the sPOD logo is not upside down. Next, we'll need to drill a hole for the Ethernet cable. We stepped up the size of our bit until we had a hole large enough. Feed the male end of the harness through into the sunglass holder cavity to reach the back side of the sPOD switches. Before installing the sPOD bracket, we had to test the threads on the housing. Because everything here has tight tolerances, it's best to make sure that everything lines up and does not cross-thread. Plug the male end of the Ethernet cable into the back of the sPOD panel and then slide the panel into place and use the supplied 2 bolts to secure the back of the console. Now remove the A-pillar handle and cover by gently prying out the rubber panel in the handle. Then use a 10mm socket to remove both bolts. Before fully removing the panel, you'll need to disconnect the tweeter harness as well. Next, remove the dash side panel using a panel lever and pulling firmly away to release the clips. Now begin feeding one end of the Ethernet cable through from the console opening to the windshield. You can do this by gently pulling down on the headliner and feed the cable most of the way, leaving about 6 to 8 inches. You can now connect the Ethernet cable to the extension and replace the console first by hanging the hooks at the front, then reconnecting all of your cable harnesses and then pressing the clips back in place. Now tuck the cable along behind the headliner and down through the A-pillar, tucking it in and zip tying to ensure the A-pillar trim can go back on and it doesn't interfere with your A-pillar airbags. Continue passing the line down the side of the dash to the driver's side footwell. Now locate the grommet from the footwell through the firewall and use a screwdriver or blade to carefully poke or cut a hole, being careful to avoid the wiring loom. We passed a line feed through the grommet and taped the head of the Ethernet cable to pull it through. With your Ethernet cord pulled through, now run it up to the cowling at the top of the firewall and find a clean path to feed it across to the passenger side while zip tying all along the way. We also drill the small hole in the center of the cowl to add an extra support zip tie. Now go ahead and mount your sPOD distribution block to the supplied plate using the 4 nuts on the posts, making sure that the 2 mounting holes are to the left side. Next, you'll mount the other half of the bracket. Remove these 2 10mm bolts at the passenger side fender inside the engine bay. Then place the smaller bracket over those 2 mounting points and replace the OEM 10mm bolts. You can now place your sPOD distribution block in place and fasten it to the quick release mounting point using the supplied T-bolts. Now feeding the Ethernet cable on the far side from underneath, run it up and through the grommet and connect it to either of the female Ethernet ports. Then temporarily replace the cover to make sure there's no binding or pressure on the cable. Now we'll connect the sPOD to the battery, and as usual, red goes to positive and black goes to negative. Be sure to run the cables carefully, tucking them in, but leaving enough slack in them in case you need to move the distribution block. You're going to need to have that slack. You can now attach your accessories to your switches, positive to positive and negative to negative. The switch numbers are clearly labeled on the cover as well as on the distribution block. Use a Phillips screwdriver to open up the terminal, but don't remove the screw all the way. You can twist the wire and place it in the terminals, or you can use sPOD's included spade connectors to affix to the end of the wire before placing it in the terminal. Once hooked up, you'll need to start the truck briefly before anything will work. The sPOD will sense the surge over 12 volts and kick it on. Now you can hit one of your buttons to test and ensure that the unit has power. Now go ahead and replace your dash side panel and your A-pillar trim and handle. Now open your Bluetooth preferences on your phone and select the sPOD to connect. From the mobile app, you can assign names to your switches, add functionality to your switches like flash, strobe, or dim. From the app, you can also switch between up to 4 sources, and the app will act as a switch touchscreen if you want to use it that way. Here you can also change the color and brightness of the switch's backlights and all kinds of other configurations. With that, you've finished your sPOD install on your 3rd Gen Raptor. Now start getting all your accessories connected and getting everything dialed in.
Hope you found this video helpful. If you're ready to purchase that sPOD kit for your 3rd generation Raptor, go find us over at motoroso.com. We'd love to help you with that and any other sPOD or Baja Designs products. Now, if you'd like to learn a ton more about that sPOD, check out that product spotlight video. It's right here, and we hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.